Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the WinUI Community Call July edition. For those of you that don't know me yet, I'm Anna. I'm a PM on the Developer Ecosystem Platform team, and I run these WinUI Community Calls every month. Today is a really exciting one, so I hope you guys are all energized and ready, even though I know it's early in the morning or late at night for a lot of us, but we appreciate all of you being on the call. I'm going to switch it off to the PowerPoint now, just so we can get started here. Ooh, that is just my webcam. Okay. Now we are on the PowerPoint. So, about the community call. We do this on the third Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific, which is 1600 UTC. Our next call is going to be in about a month on August 19th. And you can always find us and interact with us on our GitHub repository, which is Microsoft UI XAML. And our team is pretty active on Twitter. Our official Twitter handle is @WindowsUI. You can get all the latest updates there. So for today's call, I am going to be doing this intro. We're going to be doing some status updates on WinUI. We are going to have two awesome guests from Project Reunion and a guest to talk about the future of WPF. And then we are going to end with everybody's favorite, the Q&A. So, a brief introduction, what is WinUI? WinUI is the native UI platform for Windows 10. You can use it to build rich .NET and C++ apps for Windows 10 devices. It powers the Windows and Xbox OS shell, many apps, and also platforms like Xamarin Forms, as well as React Native for Windows. So WinUI 2 is a library of Fluent-based controls and styles, and these work in UWP XAML apps. And we ship updates to WinUI 2 trimesterly, so 3 times a year. WinUI 3 is the dramatic expansion of WinUI 2 into a full-fledged end-to-end UI framework. It's currently in preview, not ready for production apps, but it provides the latest Fluent design styling, built to support modern hardware, input, and devices. And, of course, it can be used with .NET or C++ apps. So, let's go into some status updates. Wow, surprise! We have Preview 2 out. As of this morning, WinUI 3 Preview 2 is available for everyone to try out. Hopefully these links are updated by now. I think if you go to aka.ms/WinUI3/Preview2, you'll be able to find all the info, release notes, etc. Everything should definitely be ready by the end of this call. If it's not ready yet, just give it a few minutes. But basically, let's talk about Preview 2. It's similar installation and setup process to Preview 1. Apps can be upgraded from Preview 1 to Preview 2, but we recommend you're really careful. We have a set of steps laid out on our repo that you'll need to follow in order to upgrade your apps. So if you do want to upgrade, it's a little tricky. Make sure you follow the instructions. And if all else fails, it's easiest to just create a new Preview 2 project and copy over all your content. So Preview 2 consists of a lot of critical bug fixes and stability improvements. This was a release that we really wanted to focus on polishing the preview, fixing a lot of the critical bugs that you all found, that our team found in Preview 1, and just making it overall an easier to use platform. So some notable fixes that I'm sure you guys will be excited about is iNotify collection change and iNotify property change. Those issues in C# for desktop apps are now fixed. So you can use those, observable collection, as you'd expect. WinUI 3 Preview 2 has been upgraded to use .NET 5 Preview 5 in desktop apps. We also have feature parity with WinUI 2.4, so you can finally use things like hierarchical navigation and progress ring in your WinUI 3 apps. And there's obviously a lot more. You can check out our release notes at the big orange link to see like a full list of all the bugs. And you might actually see your name on there. We did a few community member shout outs for all the community members that filed issues that we ended up tackling. You get a cool little shout out on our docs, so definitely check those out. As well as all the bits and cool stuff, we also have great new docs on WinUI topics. There's more coming, as always, but we have full walkthroughs on creating UWP apps, creating desktop apps, as well as more information on all the different project types, all the different file types and everything, kind of like a little guide to Visual Studio with WinUI to really help you out. So yeah, really exciting stuff. We hope you guys love preview 2. Hope you love preview 3 too, but right now, preview 2. And as always, we need feedback. We love feedback. If you find issues, etc., definitely just go and file them on our repo. And yeah, so that's the first exciting announcement of today. So I have a few other status updates about WinUI. WinUI 2.5 just shipped a pre-release package that you can check out. This includes a lot of bug fixes. And a pager control and app-wide status message controls are also being prototyped currently. So those are really exciting new things that we hope to get soon in WinUI 2. There's also a blog post from Miguel that was published, I think, about a week ago. And it is a deep dive into WinUI 3 on desktop apps. So you can check that out on the Windows Developer blog. A lot of you know Miguel on our team. It's a really great article or a really great blog post to learn more about creating desktop apps in WinUI 3. And it works with the Preview 1 bits, but everything is applicable to Preview 2 as well. So another piece of exciting news for a lot of you is that we are currently working on a more detailed public-facing roadmap that has target feature availability dates. So I know a lot of you have a certain feature that make or breaks your app, and you want to know, what previews it's going to come out with. So we're working on a roadmap where we can show you guys kind of the dates we're targeting for specific features, so you guys can have a little more clarity there. So let's see, what is next here? The roadmap, as I was just talking about. So a note at the top, all plans are subject to change. I'm sure that a lot of you know this roadmap, it changes a little bit as our plans change. Also with just the whole COVID-19 pandemic going around, it just makes everything harder for everybody. So sometimes plans have to change, but as of now, this is what we are expecting. So we just released WinUI 3 Preview 2, yay. Next up is WinUI 3 Preview 3. That will bring new features and capabilities. So as I said, Preview 2 is mostly bug fixes. Preview 3 is going to be a big exciting preview with new features and capabilities. Then we plan on going open source, which I know is just a huge milestone, something that I'm really excited about, something that I'm sure all of you are really excited about. So we'll be open sourcing the XAML layer source code, and we'll also have feature and work tracking on GitHub, which will be awesome. And at the same time, we are going to be doing our November release, which is basically the first release of WinUI 3 that you'll be able to use in production apps if it meets your needs. So that will be really exciting. And then we will continue releasing into spring of 2021, where we'll likely then release, our general availability WinUI 3.0 version. So yeah, that's what's coming up within the next span of time. Let's see. Oh, now we're on to our first guest from Project Reunion, is my friend Eve. She is a program manager on the Project Reunion team, and she also does a lot of the customer engagement efforts for their team. So she is a great person to go to with questions about Project Reunion or anything like that. But right now, I'm going to hand it off to Eve so that she can share her screen and show us some Project Reunion stuff. So Eve, if you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Yes, thank you, Anna. Let me get my screen set up here. I think it's taking a second, Anna.
Okay, no worries. For now, you guys can all look at the wonderful faces of the WinUI team.
Anna, you need to give me the control.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Sorry, I thought I clicked allow before.
Gotcha. So let's see here. Okay, now I have control. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, I think it's starting to share. All right, we should be good.
All right. Thank you again, Anna, and hello, everybody. This is my first time on this call, and I'm excited to be here. Again, my name is Eve, and I am a program manager on the developer platform team. I work on Project Reunion, and my job, just as Anna said, is to create awareness and drive engagement around the work that we're doing on the Windows platform. So today, I'll talk to you about Project Reunion, show you how it can be useful to you as a Windows dev, talk to you about how you can get involved and shape what we're doing on the platform. Right, so as Windows developers, I'm sure this Visual Studio dialog is familiar to you. So today when you create a new project on Visual Studio, you have a list of options to pick from. You could choose to build using WinUI, WinForms, WPF, MFC, among others. Now today, choosing a UI framework locks you in to using other features that you would not necessarily have chosen for your app, and in some cases, it limits what APIs that you can access. For example, picking UWP forces you to run in an app container, and choosing WinForms means that you don't have access to the latest natural user interfaces, features like touch input. Now, we've been listening to your concerns and the pain points that exist when building for Windows. And we are doing the work to solve those pain points. WinUI is already doing this by creating the best native UX foundation for all Windows apps, not just for Win32 or for UWP, for all of them. And so that's what Project Reunion is. It's what we're calling this unification effort of the platform. We are breaking down the barriers between UWP and Win32, so you don't have to make those hard choices anymore. We're unifying the platform so that existing and new capabilities are available to all Windows apps. Now, this is not going to be quick. It's not going to be easy. We're at the start of a long journey, and we want you to walk with us. So Project Reunion is a shared vision to make it easier for you, the Windows devs, to build great apps across all Windows 10 versions and get access to over the 1 billion plus devices. And why we're doing this is so that you can create apps that you are proud of, apps that your customers love to use because they work great for them. Now, a look at what today's platform looks like. Here's a sort of list of problems and opportunities that we see. So for one, we have two native app platforms, not one. There's uneven support between both platforms, neither one quite complete. For example, with UWP APIs, there's some windowing and storage API gaps. For Win32, you don't always have access to the latest and greatest natural user interface features, and power management could be a concern. You're not able to take full advantage of the platform due to version fragmentation, and you have to write version adaptive code, which in some cases fragments your app's experience. And what's worse, you can't quite incrementally adopt new features because of this fracturing the platform. What we're planning to do is, and this is our long-term vision here, we're working on unifying and evolving the Windows platform. We are planning on creating a common platform, and the distinction between Win32 and UWP APIs, we intend for that to fade away, and we'll be referring to all apps as Windows apps. And by breaking down those barriers and making sure that you have access to all new capabilities, we are making sure that all Windows apps have a path forward towards modernization. They can have great UI, they can be state separated, they can be differentiated on Windows, have those unique Windows experiences, and also be cloud ready. And with that comes the promise of running great on all 1 billion plus sockets. So Project Reunion is the name we're calling the effort, but in terms of deliverables, it's a set of components that you can incrementally adopt, that you can add to your existing apps. These components will be accessible as NuGet packages that you can add onto your build environments. It will support your existing deployment frameworks. It will work with your existing runtimes and frameworks as well. The key thing here being that you don't have to rewrite your existing code bases. This is an additive build experience. You get to pick the pieces that you want to adopt when you want to adopt them. And the second piece is we're building it out in the open with you, our customers. Right now we have a GitHub repo available at aka.ms project reunion. There we are accepting your questions, your discussion topics. We want you to put up proposals on there. Some components like WinUI will have their own repos, but this particular project reunion repo will be sort of the umbrella repo that points to all other repos. So you're at home when you're at the project reunion repo. And lastly, I want to emphasize that we intend to code on there, design on there, and grow the web platform with you right there in the open on GitHub. So in summary, these 4 principles summarize our approach that we're taking with Project Reunion. 1, compatibility, in that Project Reunion intends to work with what you already have. We do the heavy lifting to make sure your app works great on all supported Windows versions. It's agile because the components will be shipped separately from the OS. We often call that out of band. This means that your users don't have to be on the latest Windows OS versions to use up some of the new and latest features. And also, very important, you get to pick and choose what you adopt at your own pace. It's open because, like we said, we will design and develop this in the open with you. And it's modern because Project Reunion will be the single target for all the latest APIs. So when you adopt Project Reunion, you have a path forward to access all the latest features, libraries, APIs, you name them. So how does WinUI fit into all of this? It's going to be the first major component that we ship as part of Project Reunion. It embodies the principles that I just mentioned of Project Reunion. It's decoupled from the OS, works across all supported versions of Windows 10. It's engineered in the open, it supports multiple languages that you use today, and you can incrementally adopt it to your existing apps as well. So what we did with WinUI is what we're planning to do with the rest of the platform, with the rest of the stack. And here I have a list of initial focus areas that we're looking into for the next 1 year. We believe that a great app has a modern UI, a modern user experience, and that's why we have a big focus on user experience here. Looking at components like WinUI 3, the composition and input layers, the Chromium Back Web View 2 for the latest and greatest ways of rendering web content, and React Native for Windows. We also believe that a great app is one that has great fundamentals, one that is power sensitive, is reliable, supports new hardware, and has broad reach. And that's why we're also looking at the platform fundamental areas listed here, how you do deployment and how you do hardware integration. Each one of these areas is actively being discussed on GitHub today, and we want you to be part of that conversation. And for an opportunity to learn more about this, you should join us on a Project Reunion community call that we have scheduled for this Friday, where you get to learn a little bit more about each one of these areas that we're looking at. Now, does this all make sense to you, what I just covered? Are those areas that I just listed out of interest to you? Are they important to you? Do you want to have a say in exactly how we do this work? I want you to take 2 actions today to get involved. 1, I want you to go to aka.ms project reunion, ask your questions there, be part of the discussions, and also submit your ideas. We have featured proposal templates, and you could also give feedback on existing ones that we have put up. We have over 36 proposals in there already, and 2/3 of which are coming from the community, coming from you. So this is a very, very valuable platform for us to engage with you, and we ask you that you join us there. The second thing I want you to do is join us on Friday, where Kevin Gallo, Jesse Bishop, and other Project Reunion team members will be available for you to ask questions to dig deeper into Project Reunion and what it means to you. We will provide the link to this in the description box below, but if you follow us at the Project Reunion repo, that's where all the activity is, that's where all the information will be, and you can also find us all there if you have any questions and feedback. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. I look forward to engaging with you, and I'll hand it over to Anna.
Perfect. Thanks, Eve. So I heard there were a few audio issues. I am gonna try to fix that. We will see. Definitely leave a comment if the audio sounds better once Pramalini starts presenting. But let's see. On that note, we have Pramalini, who is going to tell us all about the WPF roadmap for 2020 through 2021. So she is a senior PM on the developer ecosystem platform team. She's on my team, and she's leading a lot of the WPF work. But before we get into that, I also want to give a big thanks to Eve, who talked all about Project Reunion. There's lots of ways that you can get involved. Their repo is a great place to ask like more general questions, more kind of, all about the platform, all about Windows development in general. It's a great place to go to ask those questions. So I'm really happy that Eve and some others from the Project Reunion team could join us on the call, and they're going to be here to answer your questions at the end as well. So definitely, let them know if you have any questions. But as I said before, I'm going to hand it off to Pramalini to talk about WPF. So I am going to go ahead and show their roadmap. Pramalini, I think you can just go ahead and start, saying your piece.
Sounds good, Anna. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. YouTube folks, let us know in the comments if there's still audio issues, and then I can try and fix them.
Sounds good. Thanks, Anna. And while Anna is getting the web page up, the roadmap that we're going to go through, quick intro again. My name is Pramalini David. I am the new PM for WPF. WPF was recently taken over by my team, the developer ecosystem and platform team. And we have been spending the past few weeks on investigating the kind of investments we want to make in 2020-2021. And today, I'm really excited to be sharing that roadmap with you. And without further ado, let's go to GitHub and take a look at it. Anna, are you able to share your screen?
Oh, yep. Sorry. I should share it with the Teams call. Doing that right now. Okay, here we are.
Okay, as soon as it comes up, great. Okay, so before starting off with the roadmap specifically, I do want to share that what I'm going to go through is the priorities as we see it today. And this is an evolving set of investments. It would evolve, change, grow as the months go by. But this is something that our team has committed to for right now, and that's what I'm going to be sharing. So I would like to draw your attention to the table that you see on the screen. The very first item in the table is incorporating .NET Framework servicing fixes into .NET Core 3.1 and .NET 5. Now, this is work that had already been started by the earlier team that owned WPF. And after we took over, we are continuing to do this work, and this is going to be ongoing, 2020, 2021, and so on. The next item on there that you see is the ongoing integration with .NET 5. We have completed, I would say, most of the work, but there is still some pending work items, and we are targeting 20H2 to complete that work. When we get closer to the completion of those work items, I will look into updating this table on GitHub with a more precise timeline. The third one that you see in the table, it says build our test infrastructure to add tests to validate and merge community PRs. Now, this is something that was a direct response to the community feedback that we have been getting, that you do want to be involved in the in community PRs and merging all of the cool new stuff that you see WPF either lacks or bug fixes and so on. And we are fully aware of the fact that our team needs to work on the test infrastructure needed to make that happen and make the test suites available to you. So this is definitely high on our list of investments, and we have a developer dedicated to this particular item for 20H2. Moving on, the fourth work item on our list is accessibility updates. For the accessibility updates, there are a bunch of things we need to do for WPF to meet the guidelines stipulated by the governments across the globe, wherever your apps are used. And that critical work is going to be undertaken in 21H1. Finally, ARM64 support. This is an important one and an interesting one. As you know, Microsoft, we are investing in ARM64 based devices. You would have heard the announcements, and WPF support for ARM64 is an investment that we want to focus and undertake in 21H1. Once again, as we get closer to the completion of the work, I will make more specific dates available to you on GitHub as well as the community calls such as this. So that brings us to the end of the roadmap specifically, but there is more. So let's go on. Now, many of you have filed very interesting issues and PRs on our GitHub repo. As I said, my team has recently taken over, and we are in the active process of triaging your issues. With that said, new issues that are filed after July 10th, we will have an SLA for triaging them. The SLA is 72 hours, which is 3 working days. That does not mean that we are not taking a look at the issues you have filed before them. Through the week, our team spends several hours triaging our backlog. Many of you know we have close to around 500 issues, which we have been cranking down on. And so you are going to be hearing from us on some of the older issues that you have filed. You'll be hearing from us in terms of clarification questions, additional repro steps, and so on. And so you'll know that our team is actively looking at the older issues too. The next point I want to go to is about the pull requests in GitHub. Now, we are committed to picking at least 1 or 2 PRs from the community every month. We will commit to manually testing them, doing code reviews, and then getting it merged with the repo. There are certain criteria for us to pick a given PR. The criteria, as you see, are listed as bullet points on this page. I'll just read quickly through them. The first one is recency. Then we have extent of reactions, which is the likes, the comments from the community, how important, how impactful it is going to be to the community. The next one is fixes to existing issues. Next is complexity of the fix. Then there's the breadth of the impact of the fix. Low potential for regression is a very important one. This is going to be on a case-by-case basis for obvious reasons. Next one, we do want to make sure that there is adequate test coverage for the part of the code that we touch with a given PR. And the last one is we would prioritize issues that are not new feature requests over those that are. With that said, I do want to again make the point that this is the commitment as of now. In the coming months, as we evolve and grow our team, we will be refining the kinds of PRs that we can accept, the kinds of issues, the extent of issues that we go address, and I will be updating the roadmap and this particular page accordingly, and will be providing you new updates on calls such as this. Getting to non-code PRs, which might be documentation bugs or updates to existing documentation, our SLA for those kind of PRs is going to be 72 hours, which again is 3 working days. So that's our commitment for now. Community calls. So I do expect that I will be on community calls such as this every 2 months to provide you with updates on how our investments are coming along, and also to hear your questions, to take your feedback. This is our first community call, and it's very exciting to be sharing this new roadmap with you. Last but not the least, Anna, if you could scroll down to the resourcing section. Our team's management has approved additional resourcing for our project. However, with the global COVID-19 pandemic, the process to hire has slowed down, has become slower than usual. With the available resources on the current team, the roadmap that I shared earlier in the table is what the team is committed to for 2020 and 2021. With that said, as the situation improves with the COVID pandemic, as the hiring process gets back to its usual amount of time, the usual process, we do expect we will have more developers on the team, and we'll be able to take on more investments. So that brings us to the end of what I wanted to share on this call. And I look forward to hearing from you on GitHub. Feel free to go through our roadmap again, send us questions, and we are looking forward to closely collaborating with you, the community, on this new project of ours, at least for our team. Thank you, folks.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Pramalini. Let's see. Can everybody just mute their mics? I hear myself echoing in the Teams call. Okay, I think that's better. Thank you. So thank you so much, Pramalini. As I was saying, I know that so many of our community members are WPF fans, WPF developers. So this is just really great to have this update and also have just the continual update to let us know what's going on. Just really excited about that. So now we are going to move on to Q&A. I know you guys have a lot of questions. So I am going to pass it off to Savoy to start our Q&A. And I believe we said we're going to try and do together mode. We'll see how this goes. If you folks on our Microsoft call want to turn on your cameras, we can see how this works. Oh, look, there's Ryan and Savoy.
Hey, everyone. And I think, there we go, the theater's going to keep growing as more of us jump in here. This is an awesome way to do Q&A. Make sure I'm like a normal-sized person here.
Hopefully
Cool.
The connection holds out.
Yeah, it'll probably be a minute before we see this part go live. So, Anne, if there's any issue with lag or audio quality, feel free to make the switch. But all right, let's get started. I have a ton of questions. Eve, let's start with you because Project Reunion is a really hot topic for this audience.
Awesome.
So here's an easy one, Eve. Just up front, Alan wants to know, when you say all supported versions of Windows, does this mean all versions supported by Microsoft, like generally, publicly, or is there another list that will be specific to the versions of Windows Project Union will intend to support?
Yes, thanks for that question, Alan. So it doesn't necessarily mean all supported Windows versions by Microsoft. We do have a particular list of our own, and not all components will have a single target. The main primary target is RS5, which is the October 2018 update. But some Project Reunion components will go even further down level. But you should check out our GitHub repo to get particular details on that question.
Excellent. And so you mentioned that there will be a Project Reunion community call this Friday. Eric Burns would like to know if there's a specific time for that.
Certainly. So the community call this Friday is at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. UTC. for folks in other parts of the world. And if you're in the Pacific time zone, that will be at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We look forward to
Very
seeing you
good.
there.
Awesome. And so Marco is asking, will you tie into Visual Studio exclusively or keep it open for other development tools into IDEs that currently target Win32 and WinRT?
Jesse, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Our Visual Studio is kind of our initial main target, although we do know a lot of people are interested in other kind of build pipelines and tools. And so that's something that we definitely want to look at evolving over time. And that's a great question to put in the GitHub repo so we can chat about it and see what we could do.
Awesome. And one more, and then we'll switch over to another topic for a few questions. Eve, Terry would like to know, how do the WinRT project packages fit into Project Reunion?
Yes.
Projection packages. Sorry, projection packages.
Yes, projection packages. This, I believe you mean the C++ WinRT, Rust WinRT, C# WinRT language projections. So what that means is that you could use C++, C#, Rust, and other projections that we're working on, languages to consume Project Reunion components. And Jesse, do you want to add to that as well?
I would just say that, yeah, we definitely are supporting those from day one. We're kind of trying to design all of the APIs that we're working on in a way where you can use them from the language of your choice, and those language projections are the way you kind of will consume them. And we also have some other interesting experimental stuff in the works, like a Python binding and stuff like that. So those are already fully Project Reunion compliant. And if you go check out their repos, you can see kind of like the details and roadmap for them.
Very cool. All right, so Paul, we have some questions for you. Pinox, one of those, they're asking, would love to hear Microsoft's opinion on this thread about .NET 5 and UWP apps on the Project Reunion repo. It looks like you had some thoughts to share there. Oh, Paul, you might be muted.
Hi, now I'm hopefully
you're good.
Audible. Yeah, I just posted a comment on that last night to help kind of clarify how we're thinking about that. But as Aminator showed, absolutely you can build an app with UWP and .NET 5 today. And he's documented one solution. There's some other ways of doing it. And so really what we're trying to do is figure out how can we make that really great and easy for people end to end in a way that we would kind of support officially and make a nice forward-looking, durable path for people, because we absolutely want it to be reasonably easy for developers to get apps with the benefits of UWP and the benefits of the latest .NET 5 and 6 and so forth. So that's definitely something we're trying to do. I think the community would like us to be a little bit more transparent about how we're thinking about that. So we're going to try to get an issue posted in the next few weeks that shows just some thinking about how we might try to make that path work, to get your feedback on that, and see see what you all think about how we're doing that. And given the interest in some kind of a short-term solution, we're also open to figuring out if there's ways we can support kind of the short-term solutions people are already discovering for themselves about how to make this work, while we design and develop a kind of durable long-term solution too.
Awesome. All right, and I have another question for you, Paul. Let me just scroll to it here. This chat there's so many excited people and questions here. Here it is. So this is coming from Maxim Litvinov, who is asking, do you have any plans to improve the XAML engine?
Yes. I read actually Max's whole question on the GitHub that he posted, but in short, yeah, we absolutely do want to improve the XAML engine itself. And in fact, that's one of the motivations for why we are lifting WinUI out of the core OS to the side-by-side release model, is to give us more ability to not just incrementally add on more features and more controls, but to also improve the core engine itself to work better and be more powerful and so forth. So yes, we definitely want to improve the XAML engine. And I think some of the other questions that were asked were about specific kind of core improvements we could do, especially around the styling model, and things like that. And so I think those are too detailed to cover in depth on this call, but would be happy to engage on, if people open GitHub proposals or issues on the WinUI repo about those in more details. But I will post some links to the chat of some of the things we have done around that, like with adaptive triggers and lightweight styling and so forth, in case you guys aren't aware of them.
Awesome. All right, Pramalini, I have some questions for you if you're ready. So just a quick double check to make sure your mic on. And
Yes,
Stefan
can you hear me?
We can. You're coming through. So
Great.
Stefan is saying, I understand that there are many PRs already ready for the WPF repo, but there's no real activity in reviewing them or merging them yet. When will WPF in its repo finally pick up some traction?
Yes, so I will allude to the roadmap again, what we went through, where every month we will be choosing at least one, if not two, community PRs. We will take on responsibility for manually validating them, do code reviews, and merging them with the repo. And the criteria for the kinds of PRs that we will start picking up are posted to the page that we went through during the call. It is on GitHub repo on the roadmap page. So definitely please take a look at the roadmap, and you will be able to see our SLAs on those PRs, SLAs on existing issues that have been filed on GitHub, and you are going to be hearing from us for follow-up questions on your issues, on your PRs, for repros on your issues, since now we are the new team that owns WPF.
Awesome. And a follow-up on that, Pramalini.
Sure.
Just have to scroll up there again. So Stefan again is asking, will render performance be addressed in WPF at some point?
So yes, definitely. As soon as we are able to get a handle over the existing items that we want to invest in, we will look into it. In the next month or so, we will have a few more updates on the kind of investments we will be making for performance. And so stay tuned, folks, and the updates will come to you through GitHub as well as community calls such as this.
Very good. And so now this next question is going to go to you and Ryan. So you being Pramalini. We have, let's see, sorry, this question sheet is so big. Everyone's awesome. Thank you for all these questions. So we have Felix Dev asking, are the WinUI and WPF teams working together? For example, on WinUI desktop. As WinUI is the leading native UI project on Windows, can we expect the WPF team to work on WinUI in the future, as in bundling development resources behind the leading native UI product?
So Felix, the good news is the WinUI team and the WPF team, we are both on the same team. The same org or sub-org or team, if you will, owns both. So we talk to each other. We are extremely aware of all of the investments happening in WinUI. And with respect to specifics, I will defer to Ryan in terms of the example on WinUI desktop. I'm sure moving forward in the days to come, we will be working closely. Ryan, there's more you would like to add on it?
Yeah, there's not a lot more that I'd add there. I mean, as Pramalini said, we are the same team, so it's easy for us to coordinate really well. Obviously, the XAML Island story is a connection point between those two technologies, and we haven't really needed to make any changes to WPF because WPF just has HWind hosting capabilities, so we're able to do islands pretty well there. But if there's ever a situation that comes up where we need to have some high level of coordination, I know that the community has asked about reverse islands a number of times. If we ever decide to do that, we don't have that on our roadmap right now, but if we ever have to do that and we have to coordinate across the teams, it's super easy for us to do that because we're all just the same folks working on these techs. So.
Cool. And so I'll take a moment to say, I see literally dozens of questions coming through the chat here. We're capturing all of them, and if we don't get to them today, we'll try and get to them at the next call. I'm just making sure we're prioritizing questions for our guests since we don't get them every month, which takes me back to another question for Eve. Eve Insignificant 88 is asking, will Project Reunion allow me to use Win32 APIs in my current UWP app?
Yes. Simple answer is yes. I'd be curious to know what you're looking for, what particular APIs you are keen to use. The whole point of Project Reunion is to break down the barrier. So if you need to access any API, you should be able to do that. But yes, reach out to us on your particular API that you want to access, and we could talk about it some more.
Excellent.
I'd just like to add to that real quick,
go ahead,
if
Jesse.
I could, which is to say, that doesn't mean every single Win32 API will be immediately available to UWP. We're trying to take a look at the whole platform and say, especially for something like UWP, where we have some like security guarantees and stuff for end users, we're trying to make sure that anything we do expose to all app models makes sense to do that. And so there's things that you just wouldn't want a good, safe UWP app to do. And so we won't necessarily make those Win32 APIs available for all apps. You'll still be able to use them from Win32 apps, but it doesn't automatically mean everything in Win32 today is going to be, unified and made available everywhere. And we're also staging this over time. So we're kind of trying to, like Eve was saying, we're taking a look at what are the high value initial things we can do. And we're trying to sort of stage out over time what the most important parts of the platform are to look at.
That's awesome. All right. And so while I have you, Eve and Jesse, Martin Anderson is asking if Project Reunion will be supported on Windows Server.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're kind of like initially focused on, like Eve was saying, sort of the 1809 plus. There's nothing that stops us from working on Windows Server. We haven't really gone far enough to test that yet. So that's a great question that we'll go look into. So there's nothing technologically preventing us from doing it. We just, aren't starting there, I guess is the short answer. So thanks for pointing that out.
All right. So Pramalini, for you, Martin Anderson is asking, will WPF receive updated control themes and styles to help it fit more comfortably with WinUI and 10x shell styling?
Yes, when we get to it, yes, we will also hopefully be able to start taking community PRs of this nature in the future, shortly in the future. But I do expect to be adding some of these styles, if you will. And I will also, as I mentioned earlier, I will update the roadmap with new investments that we undertake as and when the time comes.
Excellent. And so Z Allied, I think that answers your question as well. It looks like there may be some opportunity coming up in that repo for that kind of work. All right. So Ryan, let me know if you can talk about this a little bit, but Terry Cox is wondering, can you discuss the level of coordination your team has with the WinRT and .NET 5 efforts?
Yeah, actually, Savoy, we can probably skip over that one because I answered it in text, but you probably just missed it.
Okay, yep. No worries. Yeah, Anna is helping me with the YouTube chat now because I am deep in this questions list.
It's a total tidal wave. I get it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love it. So, Pramalini, another one for you. Can I create WPF apps with MSIX without purchasing a certificate? Meaning that, it's not for store deployment. And that's coming from Alex.
Good question. I will need to check into this and get back to you on that. And if the person who asked that question can post it on GitHub as well, that'll be great.
Excellent. All right. So next one is going to Ryan. Ryan, Jose is asking, are there plans to support developing for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS?
Yes, we get that question a lot. The first thing I'll say is for WinUI specifically, we don't have any plans to take WinUI cross-platform at this time. That's something that we are always asked about and we're always thinking about. We're mainly focused around just trying to kind of get to a production-ready version, and most of our focus goes there. There are a bunch of different technologies, though, that will allow you to do cross-platform development. There is React Native for Windows and Mac that allows you to just write React Native code, but then run those apps not only on a Windows machine, but also on those other platforms. So that's a great option if you like doing JavaScript development. There is Maui, which is sort of like the next version of Xamarin Forms. If you're a .NET developer and you like working with .NET technologies, that's really great. And then there's also the Uno platform, which is a great ecosystem partner that we have highlighted a number of times and we work with pretty closely. And Uno allows you to take that WinUI and UWP type development experience and bring it to all of those platforms too. So there are a lot of really great options there. And whatever camp you sort of fit into in terms of the programming style and what you're familiar with, what your skill sets are, there's already some pretty good options there, even if we don't have WinUI itself cross-platform at this time.
Excellent. And so we've seen a lot of questions about the Microsoft Store in chat today. As Ryan mentioned in chat, we'll see if we can bring someone from that team on in one of our later calls so that we can get everyone here the answers from the people who are best suited to answer them. So, Ryan, another question for you. We've seen this a couple times now. People are also wondering if WinUI will intend to support Windows Server also.
I think the answer is yes. Honestly, I don't think a lot about Windows Server, but I don't see why it wouldn't work there. So that's maybe something that I should update on our roadmap just to make that really explicit, especially when we get to that sort of feature by feature roadmap that we're trying to get to.
Excellent. And so, Pramalini, another question for you. Will ARM64 support be happening in WPF? I've read that there are plans, but more details and a timeline would be interesting to have.
Yes, woohoo! So we shared that in our roadmap when I spoke to this topic earlier today. WPF will be supported on ARM64. We have scheduled that work for 21H1. Closer to 21H1, I will share more specific dates on when previews might be available for you to try out. So stay tuned, folks.
Excellent. And so another question for Eve from Athif, who is asking, any plans on making Project Reunion as native window app UI libraries, or if it will be coexisting with legacy stuff?
Right. Good question, Athif. So the question is on the Windows App UI library. So WinUI 3 is the native app WinUI library that we recommend. And we're investigating how we could approach and include things like User32 and Comcatl and GDI for people who are using them today. But the answer to this question is that it will indeed coexist with WinUI, so you can incrementally update it at your own pace.
Excellent. And so, Ryan, was there more there? No, okay. So Ryan, a question from Niels, who's asking if we can give them an update on being able to customize the window, specifically the ability to create borderless or transparent windows, or whether we know anything more about acrylic support in WinUI 3.0 or 3.1.
There's a couple pieces to that. So first of all, we're validating our ability to allow title bar and window customization. And I think we'll have more to say on that when we start to approach Preview 3, which comes out at Ignite. But we have a lot of key customers, almost all of our key customers that we're looking at sort of co-launching with in November, all have needs in that space. So I think we're going to have a really good story there. And so I'll have more to say about that at Ignite. In terms of acrylic, we are still exploring what to do about that. We now have 3 different options for how to potentially get some acrylic-like effect for November. I'm pretty confident, maybe 80% confident that one of those options will pan out. And that's another item where I think we're going to have another update that we can go and give as we get closer to Preview 3. But acrylic is just right at the very tippy top of the list of things that we're trying to make sure work. So,
very good. And so with about 5 minutes left, I'm going to try and make sure I'm picking some shorter questions so that we can get through as many as possible. Pramalini, Martin Anderson is asking, so to be clear, there will be no new features being accepted for WPF until 20H2 at the earliest. Is that correct?
Our roadmap is evolving, as I mentioned, with our current team size. What we shared on the roadmap is something that we are committing to. However, in the coming months, as we are able to ramp up our team, ramp up meaning we have more people on our team, we are going to be looking at what additional investments we can make, which includes a possibility of new features. So I would say do stay tuned to the updates we make on the roadmap. I will be sharing those with you through GitHub, but in addition through these community calls as well, and that is something that's going to be evolving in the coming months, so it's not set in stone.
Excellent. And so for Ryan from Simbai, who is asking, any news about an updated media player for desktop applications? For a long time, we've had the Windows Media Player control, but it's limited and buggy with limited support through XAML islands. Yeah, just looking for an update there, it seems.
I want to make sure I'm answering the right question. We have, if you're talking about like a control in WinUI itself, we have Media Player Element, which if it's buggy or has any issues, please let us know. It's relatively new. It was meant to replace Media Element. And so if you're looking to have like an embedded control thing, we're on path to try and have that ready for November. If you're asking a broader question about like a new media player application in Windows or something, I'm not really the right person to answer that. So maybe send me a DM or something. I can try and find the right folks that can answer that one. But that's definitely out of the scope of my knowledge and expertise as a person in WinUI.
So Ryan, Dot Morton is asking, does integration with .NET 5 include adding nullability annotators nullability annotations to the API?
I don't have the answer to that. Paul, do you know? Paul, you're muted.
I also don't know the answer, but that's a great specific issue, maybe even to post on the repo for us to go follow up on and maybe do that work.
All right. So Anna, I can throw a question your way. Someone is asking if there's going to be a WinUI 3 dev status document. So they said it's shown during the February WinUI community call or mentioned. Developers still aren't sure where WinUI 3 is going to land, and we're inching closer to previews and go live, so we'd love to see that roadmap. And that's coming from Rafael Riviera. And I paraphrased quite a bit to try and compress that question.
No worries. So yeah, we are working on a public-facing roadmap doc that will lay out basically which features are coming when, at least in our plans. And we want to make sure that we can regularly update this internally. As you know, our plans change a lot. So, we want to make sure that we have something that can be regularly updated. So working on kind of getting the system ready for that. And then we're really excited to get that out to you. So we hope as soon as possible we can get kind of that live roadmap out to our community, because we know that you want it and it's on your mind.
So for Pramalini, another question from Raphael is, what's the current commitment for WPF support? Are we talking about supporting the scenario in which developers can add both the WPF and WinUI XAML files to a project and the solution will build, or will developers have to pick and choose, or some other kind of scheme?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have an immediate answer to it. The first part, so if you can just repeat the first part of the question with WPF and WinUI?
Sure. They're asking what kind of support they'll be having, such as being able to add both WPF and WinUI XAML files to a project and the solution will build, or if developers have to pick and choose between some WPF and WinUI XAML files.
Well, if you have an existing WPF app, you can choose to use WinUI features through XAML islands. But in terms of using WPF and WinUI, Ryan, would you have some thoughts on it?
Sorry, just restate that since I was typing an answer in the chat.
Oh.
Go ahead. Raphael. Okay, sorry. Rafael Riviera is asking, what's the current commitment for WPF support? Are we talking about supporting scenarios in which developers can add both WPF and WinUI XAML files to a project, or will developers have to pick and choose, or some other scheme?
I think the current path that we're on, if you're talking about islands and combining the two, I believe that the current experience we're looking at is to allow both WPF and XAML files, but not in the same project. I think they have to be in separate projects within the solution. We think that that's a pretty understandable and durable mechanic. Whether or not we're going to actually have both types of XAML side by side, I don't think we have any firm plans there.
Perfect. And last question to wrap up, and I'll direct this at Ryan, coming from Jeremy Sinclair. Any news about when ARM64 will support WinUI 3?
Yeah, the news is basically for sure by November and possibly by Preview 3 at Ignite.
Excellent. All right. Well, there were a ton of questions there. We'll have plenty more to get asked on the next call, which will be in August. So with that, I'll turn it back to Anna. But thank you, everyone, for asking so many great in-depth questions. And thanks to the team and our guests for joining us today to answer them.
All right, yeah. Thank you so much, Savoy, for running our Q&A session. Thanks to everyone on the team for answering all these questions. It's really great to see the community so excited and so engaged in, all of the stuff that we're working on. So with that, this is the end of the community call. A big thanks to our guests for joining and answering questions. You guys are great. A big thanks to everyone on the team who helps just make this call run smoothly every time. And, of course, a big thanks to all of you guys watching. You're awesome. Definitely try out Preview 2. File issues, leave your feedback. Yeah. All right. That's it. Bye, everyone.